Udah jamnya ngobrol, ngobrol yuk.
Hi Michael, thanks. Good to see you. Thanks for making it happen today and for dropping by our studio. So Michael, before we start, you can feel free to introduce yourself to everyone in Indonesia.
Yeah.
The pleasure is yours.
Sure. Thanks for having me today. It's always good to meet friends and talk watches. So happy to be here, and obviously also to be able to share a bit of our story with your audience. Well, my name is Michael Meier. Have been with Oris for quite a few years already. My journey with Oris and in the world of mechanical watches started not too far away from here, actually Malaysia.
Okay.
Some 12 years ago. So that seems like another decade already. Started there. I have since moved back to the factory, and I'm looking after our Asian markets, the bulk of Asia Pasifik. And yeah, over the years I've had the joy to really see how not only the brand but also collections have evolved, how the watch community has evolved along all these markets. And yeah, it's my pleasure to be able to have always the chance to go back to these different countries. Today I'm in Jakarta, and to see what's happening in the community, in the market, and in the cities in general. So yeah, it's good to be here.
Nice to have you here too. So Michael, I believe this is not your first time coming into Indonesia, right?
Not at all, no. I stopped counting. I have been to Jakarta many times already over these years. But the fun thing is, there's always something new to discover. There's new shop concepts that I stumble upon. Obviously, the coffee culture has kind of like exploded in the last years, which personally I love. Another passion of mine, and there's always something new to see. So, just said this morning, I just kind of like need to find a bit more time to spend here on a weekend once. But for now, I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to be here with you and. Well, talk watches, right? So.
Yeah, but specifically, since you did mention before that you also mainly work on Asia markets,
yeah.
How do you see Indonesia compares to Bangkok, to Thailand, to other cities in Southeast Asia?
Yeah. Look, what I think is interesting is that every city has its own beat, its own culture when it comes to watches. This trip took me to Thailand, to Singapore, and now to Indonesia, and it's very different watch cultures.
Yeah.
But what I really like is that you see these different groups, and watches is something that brings a lot of people together. There is these new communities, people that appreciate watches, and it's not just a sole experience. It's not like, well, I buy a watch just for me, but you know, whether it's in Bangkok or here, I meet people that made friends through watches, that have built communities through watches. There is a great watch community in Bangkok, where I had basically an event last week, and we introduced a new watch. And to see the passion of these people is amazing, and I find the same when I meet watch enthusiasts in Singapore. I find the same when I meet with watch enthusiasts here. So I think, to me, it's amazing to see all these different cultures, very different retail environments, and very different places. But then you have this kind of like watch culture that's starting to exist, and yeah, you can basically go from one place to the other, and you find passionate people.
Do you think that in Asia watch communities have so much differences compared to how the Swiss watch communities is doing?
I think it's very different. Yes, it is. It's interesting to see. I mean, at Oris, we have our Oris social club.
Yeah.
We do have, like 30 clubs in the world by now. It's a growing number of chapters. The Indonesia chapter, the Jakarta chapter we have had for a while. And in Asia, they are very, it's very different how they've grown and how big they are. In some places, there's also very well established local communities that have been there for many more years. The same is true in Europe. We have our collectors there too, our enthusiasts. I think it's hard to say when you're looking at the the community itself, again, I think we're all in for the right reason, for the same reason, because we appreciate watchmaking. And then obviously depending on markets, there's maybe some brands that are stronger. So maybe in Switzerland, we are even more focused on the Swiss brands. When I'm here in Asia, then sometimes, Japanese brands have a good standing too. So it's a very rich culture in watchmaking. And yeah, it comes together that basically depend on how it's grown in the market. But then again, also through these communities, I'm always introduced to a new brand. Because obviously it's always fun to be the first one to have a new piece, a new brand, or then a new watch in a community. So I think it's really enriching. Not even that much different to when you're going from one place to the other. I also know people actually, they may live in Switzerland, but they are very active with their watch communities in the places they're coming from, like if they are having an Asian origin, or people that kind of like shift between, for business or because of family reasons, they shift between continents, and then they are active in two areas as far as the watch communities go.
But seeing you meet several types of watch collectors spread across Southeast Asia and European markets, is there any similarities that you're actually finding on how people get to know or own an Oris?
Yeah. Look, I think the journey always starts with some kind of an introduction into the brand. When we are in a place like Indonesia or also like Malaysia, where you have a huge tradition with Oris, where everyone almost knows or had was telling me, my father had an Oris, my grandfather had an Oris, or a friend of the family or someone had an Oris in their
Relation to.
Yeah, and so it's fascinating to see how strong this has already been, and then the introduction maybe happens through a big crown, because this is the watch that their father had, or their grandfather, because this was a model that has defined Oris over many years, and now when we're launching something new in that family, a new big crown, and we can basically say, look, this is an Oris. It's the big crown that has been part of the brand for more than 80 years. It kind of speaks to them. So I often see our vintage models being the introduction to someone when they basically come to Oris. Sometimes it is also another model. I mean, we talked about the Kermit, and I'm sure we'll touch on that later.
Yeah.
And that has been a model or a watch that has brought a new crowd to us that just discovered Oris. So there's always kind of like that introductory moment when you suddenly find out about the brand, and then you go a little bit deeper to understand what it is all about. And usually then, this is just when you get into the rabbit hole and you go very deep and you want to know everything about
the brand. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah,
it happens to me too as well. I mean, I know Oris for quite a long time, but I never owned one until I get a big crown point today. I mean,
okay.
I've been reading through Oris, past history, past vintage model.
Yeah.
And I think since I'm just that into Japanese horology before, so it didn't pull me to pull the trigger as soon as possible to get one. But after owning an Oris, I can value Oris in a different way. I think it's not just about the brand or the story behind the brand or the watchmaking. It's part of looking in at a Swiss watch with different way of finish. Yeah. It's a different way of finish. It's a different way of colors.
Yeah.
I think among all of the Swiss brand, be it independent or not, Oris triggers new fresh design.
Yeah.
New fresh design in terms of colorway. I mean, it's not a lot of Swiss brands dare to experiment.
Yeah.
Or do things that is not usual. I mean, we've seen a lot of new releases coming from Oris that surprises me. I mean, playing with salmon dye colors, teal colors, light blue colors. It is something that is fresh. That is also what I think Indonesian market needs to see. I mean, it's not just about the past history or movements or the watch brand, it is a qualified it's a qualified brand.
Yeah.
But the innovations and the freshness that Oris brought to the watch industry is what literally sparks me to literally get one. I mean, it is something that is fresh. No one is doing it at the moment. It's not that much.
I think that's, to be honest, that's one of the challenges when we are looking at the brand and the collection and the design and development. Because on one side, I mean, we need to stay true to our heritage, our history. I mean, Oris has been around since 1904, so we have 122 years of history that basically give us a lot of inspiration and a lot of ideas. But also, it's a lot of responsibility, because whatever we do, we need to stay true to the values that have been defined 122 years ago, and obviously then, been updated in a way, or basically there have been lots of changes in this time. I mean, the watch industry as a whole has changed dramatically over these 100+ years, but there is some very important key values that haven't changed. And even when it comes to our collection, you can see that. You mentioned the Big Crown, and the Big Crown is a watch that we have been doing since 1938. 1938, we launched the first Big Crown pointer date. That's getting close to 90 years now.
Yeah.
And the challenge there is to basically continue to develop, design watches that are true to that original formula, the pointer date, with this iconic look, but then to keep it in today's times, to recreate it, to find an angle that hasn't been told before, to open a new chapter in the story of the Big Crown, and come out with something fresh. And we do this, we always make sure that we stay true to the soul of the product, to the value of the product, the values. And at the same time, we find areas where we can experiment a bit, yet sometimes take a color and take it a couple steps further to create something that's really fresh and special, like the Big Crown Original that I'm wearing today with the terracotta dial. I mean, it's not that, the original watches, it was a pilot's watch originally, and it was a black dial because you had that clear indication of time. You need to have this readability. This you wouldn't have done back then in this kind of color, but you look at the numbers, you look at the hands, you look at the details, the pointer obviously, and it's very, very true to those values, but in a very fresh look that's made for
everyone
today's time.
And today's time. But
Absolutely.
I really agree to that, Michael, because I really feel that a lot of watch brands, they try to innovate, they try to play with colors, they try to change the case design bits by bits just to stay relevant, but they might forget the roots. I mean, the heritage of how it ordinarily looks.
Yeah.
So I think that is what Oris do best. What surprises me before is if you can recall the Diver 65 first edition.
Yes.
Oris did several reissues or reinterpretations of the modern reinterpretation before, but with a bit of a changes on the Oris brand logo on the dial. I find the Oris Diver 65 60th anniversary to be the perfect release for a Diver 65.
No, and I would certainly agree. It's the one that is the closest to the original we've ever done, and we wanted to do it. I mean, the Diver 65, as the name suggests, started in the 60s when actually scuba diving started.
Yeah.
So then suddenly there was a new need for a functional watch that we filled, and this was the start of the Diver 65. And now we look at it and we say it's a funky dial with inverted numbers.
Yeah.
When you think of it, then there was a very important need for having these numbers that way, because they could put a lot more lume on these numbers, because you have these big blocks of lume. So readability was a lot better than if they would only have done dots or the numbers.
Yeah.
So it's fascinating to see how those old technical requirements that were basically not just because of style, but because it was the best solution possible for the need. And today we look at it and it's like, this is so funky, this is so 60s. And we brought this back in 2014.
Yeah.
And we basically, it could have been a one piece that we did to celebrate that time of year or that time of our history, but it has become a family, a collection that has evolved. And now after 10 years of running this collection, we felt now we really need to give enthusiasts something that they've been asking for a long time, which is a piece that is as close as possible to the original, where we really go deep into that nerd area almost. We use the original logo, we use the original configuration. We make it 40 millimeters. Okay, it's a little bit bigger than what the original used to be, but so it's really kind of like this making something relevant.
Yeah.
So it's heritage, but really creating that true interpretation of the original design. Yeah.
I think it's one of my favorite, because I think talking about making it as close to how it looks like.
Yeah.
Will it be one of the key strategy of Oris, talking about designs for 2026 and 2027?
Yeah. I wouldn't say so. I think to be doing pieces from our, you could almost say back catalogs, if you go back that far, and to bring them back, it's one of the joys of being in a brand that has so much history. And there's so much we could redo and people would love. But I think we need to find the right balance, right? Sometimes you want to do something, a piece that looks back at the period. Like now we have launched the big crown pointer date with a bullseye outside. And usually, and this is a typical example here, usually those watches, they come from the love of enthusiasts.
Yes.
I had so many messages, so many times this piece has been requested, bring back the bullseye design, bring back this color combination. And it is one of those requests, just as the 65 actually, that started from the community. They asked us about bringing this back. And then we're looking at the options, and there's so many requests, obviously, because we have a very active community. And when you are in conversation with collectors around the world, then there's also lots of ideas that basically I'm getting while I'm meeting the community, and we are getting in Switzerland. This is one that stuck, and this is one that we really wanted to do, and we really wanted to bring back that kind of like this configuration. It has been out there many times. There's some really famous pointer dates with the bullseye design from the 1960s. They were actually very big in Japan too back in that time.
Yeah.
Now it's very cool that we are able to bring this back. That's one thing that we do. This is our heritage collection. We celebrate the heritage, the history that we have in the brand. But I guess, the general direction, we are forward driven. We are a brand that wants to explore. I mean, one of our core values is to remain curious. And we really, what we mean by that is to really also look for new ideas, to look for new solutions, to make the watches we have better technically, to always find that kind of like next step, to find some innovation, to do something that no other brand has done, to have new inventions basically, and just really always be driven by what our community, what our customers would want, what helps them in their daily life, what helps them in their mission basically. And then yes, you basically have watches that are forward driven, then you have watches that look back. But I think what's important is that everything we do, even the most forward looking designs and the most technological advance, it is always anchored very firmly in our past. With every single watch, the story starts from 1904, from our origin in Holstein, and you can draw a line through our whole collection that connects that newest design, that newest innovation with our core values and with the foundation of the company. And this will be always important because this is what grounds us. This is what basically gives every single piece relevance. And sometimes it is a bit closer to the original design. It's an homage to a time that has passed, and sometimes it is something that
It's totally
is a new chapter.
Yeah,
Future.
well, that's a new chapter. That's the right term. Since owning big harm pointed date in this fresh colorway,
Yeah.
this is the true definitions of opening a new chapter.
Yes.
While keeping the right
Yeah.
heritage design.
Yeah, and this is a great example. The 403 that you have here with the hand winding movement, and it's for me, it's also a very important watch in our collection. When we started working on this, we knew that this would be a very important piece, because this is the closest to the original big crown pointer date from 1938, the original model that basically started it all. We have a pointer date configuration, obviously, with the hand that shows you the date indication. We have a small second, and we have this look with these numbers, and then we have a hand winding movement. Yeah. An in-house hand winding movement. And this is what the original pointer date was, and this is what this model, for the first time in this full configuration, brought together again. So we knew that this was probably the one movement that is the closest to the brand, the hand winder on the caliber 400 series. And we knew we needed to get it right. And this is why, we really made sure we have the whole configuration of the movement right, obviously. But this is why we went with a very cool, very modern blue. Because it would have been too easy to just say, let's go back to the original, let's do a black dial.
Yeah.
It would have become a vintage piece, kind of like a piece that wants to be vintage but isn't.
Yeah.
But we wanted this to be a forward-looking piece, and that's why we went for this combination of the very original movement configuration combined with a very modern color to really put it into today. And I like it for that, and it's certainly a piece that has been a very important moment. When we launched it, it's certainly also a piece that will stand as an important chapter in our history as we continue our journey. It's a cool piece to have, and actually, as I said, I like it on this not Oris strap, that it just shows. No, but this just shows how, what we do is we produce a watch with a story attached to it, and this is our story, the story of the big round pointer in this original movement configuration with this dial. So, but when it changes hands and it goes from you to from us to you as a customer, or to whoever it is around the world, it becomes your piece. It collects your story now. Now you should know where you've been wearing this and what maybe important moments in your life that you have had this watch. It becomes truly yours, and also with the strap, it becomes very personal.
Yeah.
This is the journey of a watch, and this is what actually makes this job so much more than just a job, but it makes our industry so much more than just about watches. It's just driven by emotion, by the passion of people like yourself in this field. So
Yeah.
it's the joy of working with mechanical watches now.
Yes, correct. I agree. At some point, I also have questions, Michael, in regards to the bullseye. I mean, the bullseye that you brought today.
Yeah.
This is my very first time seeing it, but
Yeah.
I like how the fluted bezel is reinstalled on the bullseye. This is the closest thing I think we can get to the original bullseye. But why ours? Why you and the team don't put the caliber 400 on this exact piece?
I think, we are very happy to be in a position where we have different movement categories in our range. We have our hand winding movements with 10-day power reserve, which is kind of like the crown of the collection in terms of movements, a movement that we're very proud of, and we have launched a couple of pieces just recently, and certainly will continue that way. Then we have our caliber 400, a 5-day power reserve movement, double barrel, where we really built a movement that we would want as collectors ourselves. We really started from that side, and they said, okay, what do we want? 5 days power reserve, so you don't have to wind it every day. You can put it down, you can wear something different. Maybe you want to wear a smartwatch for your training, or maybe you have a couple of hopefully Oris or other watches in rotation, and you can just pick it up after a couple of days, it's still going. So a long power reserve. We wanted to make sure that you don't have to put your watch into service all the time. So we built it for longevity, 10-year service interval, and because we're very confident about it, 10-year warranty as well. So again, to give you peace of mind. And then also, we built it anti-magnetic. But there's so much that we put into this. And it's obviously a limited quantity, given that it is a movement that we just really built on purpose for ourselves. It comes with a bit of a higher price tag. And when we look at something like this, like a pointer date, bullseye, this is something that we really want to be out there with the community.
Yeah.
There's so many people that have been asking us for this watch. There's so many people that love this watch. And here we decided that actually a source movement is the best choice, because we are able to offer this at a very attractive price point.
Everyone can have it.
Everyone can have it. Yes, we're widening the market basically. We make it accessible. And I'll tell you why in a second. And in our industry, it is always about, also economies of scale. It's very easy to produce one watch that has its own movement and everything, but it's basically impossible to pay for it because it's all unique.
Yeah.
And as an industry, we always need to find kind of like the right balance. And if we are using source movements that we obviously customize to our needs, but we can use a base, but we can share with other brands and other players in the industry, then we have better economies of scale. We all benefit from this, and in the end, the consumer benefits from this, that it becomes more accessible. And here, we wanted to go for accessibility because at Oris, we see watches as something that brings people together. I talk about the community a lot, and it is also our responsibility, I guess, to make it accessible. We want to be a brand that is inclusive. Our watches shouldn't be there just to show status and I can have it, you can't. We want to make it accessible. And I know that while I'm saying that, it still comes at the price tag. It's a mechanical watch isn't cheap. It's something that we aspire to own. Maybe at one point, it's something that takes a lot of discipline, in maybe saving. It's a treat. It's not something you really need in your life because we all have a phone to tell us the time. But it's something we enjoy. It's something that's emotional, that we like to wear, that carries our stories. But within our options and the industrial kind of like framework, the realities, we wanted to make it as accessible as possible. And that's what we did here.
So, Michael, I also have one question in regards to caliber 473 or the caliber 400 manual wind.
Yeah.
It kind of surprises me when I got this piece that the watch doesn't have winding feel.
Yeah.
Is there any specific reasons on why it is designed that way?
What do you mean by winding feed?
So when you do the hand wind, it doesn't give you feedback.
Okay. Well, basically the feedback that you have is the power reserve indication you see on the back, the hand that moves up from 0 to 120 hours. And obviously the watch movement is built that you can't overwind it. So it will click out once it's fully wound. So you can't damage the movement. Yeah. So you don't feel that continued resistance that you are referring to then. Because also it's a double barrel, and it's quite even. Because again, yes, given the movement is built also for longevity, we made sure that the torque is quite balanced in the movement, and that's why it's not like when you're winding a 10-day power reserve movement with a single barrel that is our other movement category. You feel a bit more because it's a big barrel you're moving. It's a big mainspring, and then you have more torque and you have a bit more of a feeling. Here it's quite Smooth.
Smooth.
Yeah. So you
Just right and smooth. It's like just perfectly evenly balanced.
Absolutely. I mean, look, the thing is, you have a really nice selection here, so it's not too complicated for me to select one. And when I started, we just talked about two of them already, but the 473 for me is certainly a standout. Our manual winder, our in-house caliber, and it's been fascinating to see how much time we have put into the development of not only the caliber 400 base, but then also the hand winder.
Yeah.
There was so much excitement about particularly the hand winder because it was the first time since 1938 that everything came together. The original configuration of the big round pointer date. And it is one of those projects that you really have a lot of anticipation because it's a cool project, but it's also, you don't want to get it wrong.
Yeah.
Because there is so much history. And we're just basically the custodians of the brand for a short time. I mean, you know, even if I've been with the brand for more than 10 years, given that Oris has been around for 12 years, it's just a very short period of time that I will be with the brand. And it will be my responsibility to take what has been built and created in the past and to treat it with a lot of respect, to basically make it better while I'm here, to stay true to the values, to make it better, to make it stronger, and to then pass it on to the next generation. That is my mission. And this is a piece where you can do a lot of things wrong. And I'm glad that we didn't. I'm glad that it has become what it is today, basically to bring back that original movement configuration from the very original big crown pointed eight with a very fresh take. So for me, that is a standard. It's one that I have in my personal collection as well, that I shift between the leather strap and the metal bracelet because both are actually, depending on the environment, very easy to wear. Then yes, look, we circle around the bullseye, but let me just say a couple words about it. I personally have been always a fan of the big crown too. It wasn't a big crown that brought me to the brand originally. It was a big crown that is the first Oris watch that I remember seeing that in a print ad while I was actually on a plane in Australia, and I saw the ad for the Oris big crown that was a limited edition for the Royal Flying Doctor Service in Australia. And this is when I really started to do some research about the brand. That was a watch that I wanted, and it was a story that I wanted to understand. And this is what took me to actually join Oris. And sometimes you have those watches that, you know, that really tell you a story.
Yeah.
Personally, and I try not to buy watches anymore. I have a bit of a collection. I have a story about each watch, and I say I try not to, but I will do it anyway. It's always been like that, right? And when I look at the big round pointer date here with a bullseye configuration, you know, we spend a lot of time during the development, the design phase, where we sit down with the designers and we look at different dial configurations. We look at dials on a screen. Then we look at some old models, we look at samples, we put it together, we have different color options, and we just see what can work and what strap can work, which configuration works. So you're so basically intensely close to the watch that you just look at it as, you know, you're creating this object and you're looking at, is it true to what it should be? Is it true to the values? Does it work as an object? Is it commercially viable in the different markets? So you look at it from a little bit of these different aspects, and you're not just looking at it. I mean, obviously, we also want to like what we design, but the question whether is this something I like or not personally is not exactly important at that moment. A little bit though, but it shouldn't be the only driver. It's usually a good indication though. But yes, when I then got it, when I saw it for the first time, I went down to our shop in Holstein because I knew they had the first one just unpacked, and I put it on my wrist and I was like, oh yeah, wow, that's probably one that I'll need to get. It's actually definitely one that I will have to get. So yeah, this is where basically you end up with a growing collection. And I think from all the watches we're producing, there's just a few that personally I will be able to call mine eventually, because I'll actually buy them. That will be one of them.
Okay.
So that's why this
Full size.
two, yes.
Okay.
Continuing the last feet. Look, let me go into another extreme, and I'll have the Kermit here. This is our Pro Pilot X that celebrates Kermit the Frog. Now I haven't been really growing up with the Muppets, so I don't have that kind of like link to the childhood as many of customers have that have grown up in the United States, in other market where Muppets was constantly on TV. But what I see in this watch is, on one side I see an evolution, and the PPX is the most forward-looking collection we have. And even now, when you're looking at the big crowns, you can see the continuation of the line.
Yeah.
You can see how the bezel took inspiration from a big crown, and there's a family in between the Pro Pilot. So it's not easy to kind of like make that step, but you see these lines. The Pro Pilot X first came to life in 2019 when we launched our in-house caliber as a skeleton movement, as a full skeleton concept.
Yeah.
The caliber 115, 10-day power reserve, and you can really see the barrel, you can see the mainspring. Mainspring is about 1.3 meters, so you see it for the first time. So that was a standout watch to me. That's why I chose this, because I can then also connect these two stories.
Yeah.
And it is a very modern watch. It's full titanium, so it may not be for everyone, but it has a very distinctive look. And then to be able to bring this with the story of Kermit attached, that was something very, very special. We worked with the creators of the Muppets. We worked with the studio, and what we wanted to do was to create a watch that pays homage to what they have created with Kermit and these other characters. Something that is has become an icon and a childhood hero for many people, a meme hero for a younger generation. And we worked a lot with the color theme of Kermit, the yellow, the green to yellow tones. And we always wanted to integrate Kermit, the frog. And we could have just printed him on the dial. That is a bit boring, too simple. We could have worked with the back case, but we somehow wanted to also show the movement, because it is something special. So we, in one of the creative sessions, came up with the date window. We said, well, let's put Kermit into the date window. And it's it's always a special day then, right? So we did that, and the first question, there's always creative ideas on the table when we sit around and we work on watches, and then they're always the technical guys are always scratching their heads. They're like, oh gosh, how are we going to do this? It sounds very simple to me, right? And to us, but I mean, considering that there's about 10 different layers of color that need to be printed on the date wheel, and we're having very, very slim tolerances, and every layer of color adds a little bit of height. That was the challenge, to be able to print multiple colors on the date wheel and still remain in these tolerances of height that we need to enable for smooth movement of the date wheel. That was the challenge. We managed it, and we have been able to present a watch that tells the story of Kermit. We made this then all about the day that is for me. It's always popping up on the first of the month out of nowhere. It's a surprise every month when, it's Kermit Day, this is my time. This is a moment for myself. And so it's a cool story that connects Oris and the Muppets through the watch.
For me, I'll definitely be picking my own piece, bullseye, and I'll need to pick the Diver 65.
Solid.
over the PPX.
That's alright.
It's just that we don't have the 60th anniversary
Yeah.
driver 65 here, but I think these 3 watches defines what I like
Yeah.
in watches. I just prefer something that is clean looking.
Yeah.
It doesn't shout. It's like only for those who is on the same frequency and the same understanding might know that, oh, you like that watch.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful watch.
Yeah.
So I think these 3 pieces shows that similarities. It just don't shout. I mean, for people to simply show off or to look at, it's a piece that people can appreciate and enjoy through time after getting to know about the product, wearing it. I think this 3 piece is my favorites. Lineups is big crown pointed dates in the Diver 69.
Yeah, nice little collection. When I come to Indonesia, it's always amazing to see how this crowd, this group is just growing. And yeah, it just gives me joy every time I see someone wearing an Oris. I always want to know about the story. And well, I'm looking forward to meeting many of you out there, whether it is at the next gathering or just by chance somewhere in Jakarta. And be sure I will ask about the story of your watch, because personally I just want to hear it. So yeah, it's great to have such a crowd out there. And I know that you also had a big part in building that community. So I also want to thank you very much for your hard work that you do. And yeah, I hope it also makes you smile and you enjoy it as we're on this crazy ride with watching.
With all of these beautiful watches on the table, I could smile all day.
Very well. Great.
Lagi cari jam tangan? Yang pasti-pasti aja, check out sekarang di jamtangan.com.
Pasti jamtangan.com.